Hey everyone, today I'm just going to show you a process video of one of my art journal pages. This is the end result, which I really like and is so me, which is a little bit girly with the girly colors, the pink and peaches for summer, and then a little bit of grunge that I like with my natural scratch marks and the nicks and everything like that. Here is the page midway through it, and it really looks like a hot mess, and I kind of want to walk you through my process. I'm an intuitive artist. I really don't, most of the time I don't know what the result is going to be. I just kind of follow where my next step leads me and where I feel the painting is going to lead me. I wanted to show you that middle point because I really felt like it was getting out there, and I want to show you how I brought it back by just trusting the process. Here at the beginning, I took a Posca pen, and which is just a paint pen in black, and it's non-water soluble, so it won't be activated by anything wet put on top of it. And I just journaled there and wrote in an illegible way where if anything shows through, you really couldn't see it. And it's just something, some of my thoughts and feelings that I wanted to get down on paper. It's a lot of ways I start my art journal pages with journaling at the bottom first. And here you're going to see me use Yes Paste to start putting some collage pieces down. Yes Paste has 0 to no water in it. So those pieces of paper that you put down with Yes Paste really will stick down, and they don't ripple up or get air bubbles in them or crinkle. I really like using Yes Paste. You'll also see me take a wet wipe and kind of wipe around it, maybe a little bit on top, to make sure I get all that Yes Paste off of the top of the collage pieces. And here I have a wooden palette that I really enjoy using. However, it does dry out acrylic paints fairly quickly. Acrylics dry pretty quickly anyways, so the wood palette doesn't help that much. So you're going to see me add a matte medium to each of them, just a little bitty drop, and that helps lengthen the open time of paints. And the open time is keeping them wet longer, so I have more time to use them without them drying. Some of these colors I had or some new colors I got from Blix that I wanted to try out. It's not my typical, as you can tell by the end result, it's not my typical color palette. I think I was just exploring this day and really experimenting. And so I just wanted to try those out. And of course, I wanted to lighten it up. So you're going to see me lighten it up with some titanium white paint. And once I sit there and mix them up, you're going to see me put off the extra part off my palette onto a vintage book paper that's already been gessoed. And I do that a lot so I can tear up that book page later and use it for collage pieces or a background, or rip it up, and things like that. I try not to waste a lot of paint. So we're going to keep moving forward here. And like I said, I don't know really where I'm going at this point. I'm just trusting the process. I'm really just having fun and exploring. I'm trying a few of these new colors that I don't even typically think I would put together. And we're going to see how what transpires here. So here I'm just going to kind of loosely use a paintbrush and just kind of get free and start filling in the pages with some of the color that we mixed on the wooden palette over there. And I just want to make sure you take a look at that bottom collage piece that is peach with flowers on it. It's a printed paper that I got from, I think, a paper store that, has those big sheets of paper that are hanging over the wires. And it's just a really beautiful piece of paper. You can see the same. It's under the wax paper that's separating my pages there. So keep an eye on that bottom collage, because what ends up happening is I really focus in on that when I need to bring this hot mess. I need to bring it back focused and kind of calm it down. I start really looking at that bottom piece, and I really love it, and we start drawing those flowers out. So here I'm really just trying to loosen up my wrist. I'm just letting some natural flow marks happen with my hands and my wrist. Looks like I took a little bit of black and dark and put some little bit of contrast in there. And then, of course, I'm just still using those colors, which are all pretty colors. Don't get me wrong. It's just usually not my color palette. And I think I was just really being extra adventurous this day, especially using all these together. And I always know, no matter what, I don't get scared because I always know everything's fixable. You can always paint over it. And all this is doing, whether we see none of this at all, at the very least, this is building energy, and this is building layers. This is building texture. This is building little peaks in there that may peek through later. And right there, I took some black paint, and I really just started flowing and letting my hand just make some natural loose marks. I took a heat gun right here and I went ahead and dried it completely, and then I've cut that part out. I took a stencil here and we're going to get a little bit of spray paint. I made sure my windows are open, it's well ventilated. Also, I think this is a little bit more of a safer spray paint too, and I also had a mask on. So I sat there and put some of my new spray paint colors I had, which was a similar green to the acrylic. We went ahead and put some of the flower spray paints back. And then it looks here, I skipped and did a little bit more, laid that stencil down again with black spray paint and painted those flowers over again. Now here's where we're going to start bringing it back in. Let's start getting in the colors that I really like. It went a little bit crazier than I thought. I really didn't know where I was going. And when I saw this, I was like, okay, we got to start bringing this in some. And I know this can be saved. So again, why I'm showing you this video and doing a voiceover is to show you everything can be saved. So I'm like, you know what? Let's get my peaches and pinks back out because those are my safe colors. That's what I paint with a lot. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I get out my peaches and pinks again, which is the Titan Mars Pale, the quinacridone red that I put a little bit of drop in with a little bit of yellow ochre, some white. I mix those in, maybe a little Titan buff and some titanium white. And I'm really just starting to edit and knock it back. I mean, you can see I'm really covering a lot. And then I'll take a mechanical pencil in here and I make some scratches, let some of those under layers that we've already been working on, let some of those peek through. So I'm just going to keep doing that. And when you start, if you start doing this process where you start editing and covering up things and it still looks messy, the more, and you're scared to cover things up, I promise you, the more you start adding, the more you're like, okay, now I feel a little bit better. Now I can, cover this up a little bit more. Now I can cover this up a little bit more. You're not losing the work. It's still there. You know it's there. It's really created the energy. It's really created that depth and that texture and that richness and thickness. So here I really went loose with look like probably a charcoal pencil and a mechanical pencil I'm using to make scratch marks. I'll probably grab a wooden skewer here in a little bit. And I'm really starting to edit it and really calm it down a lot with the whites and the pinks. And you can see I kind of take a moment and I look at it and it's time to even add more. From time to time, I'll add a little bit of wet wipe and maybe wipe some back and give it a little bit more of that grunge look. And it also blends and fades out the rough edges. So then I realize at this point, it's definitely time to add more. I'm still not caring for that dark green and the greens coming through too much, at least a little bit peeking through is fine. So I'm just really covering up more, but I'm loving all the colors around the edge, the yellows, the little bit of green, the red in the middle. I'm liking all those colors that are coming through. So we're going to get some more editing, and you're going to see here in a little bit where, well, besides my hair that you see here, here's blooper number 57, my awesome hair. So here I'm just kind of following the painting, kind of following my wrist and loosely doing some marks with a pencil, and also kind of just seeing what lines are just naturally drawn out from the piece itself, and kind of following some of the natural lines that kind of organically, end up happening throughout this whole process. And at the bottom, eventually, what's going to happen is I'm really going to focus in on those flowers and really end up making those be the focal point. So here we are just making some more little marks, and here's where I start painting the flowers that was on that peach piece of paper that we ended up collaging down right at the beginning. I end up outlining them with charcoal. I use a little water on the brush to bleed it out. I use some of the pinks and peaches and yellows and the paints that I already have to the side to paint them. It ends up, really, I paint them over enough where you can't tell it was the original paper to begin with. It really looked like, you know, I had painted those flowers by myself, but I really just used that as a guide and kind of made it my own. And they turned out to be more or less the focal point. This journal page actually was done between 2 days, when it was the hot, messy, look, when we took the time to dry it and then I did those stencils. I really stopped, and I had come back the next morning knowing I was going to cover up a lot of it, knowing I was going to bring it back to my colors that I really like. And what had happened that morning, it was the first morning of the trial for Derek Chauvin, the cop that killed George Floyd in Minnesota, and the trial was being aired online. And I listened to the opening statements from the defense, and it just really weighed on my mind. I was very prayerful that morning. I was praying for everyone involved, and it really weighed heavily on my mind. And so honestly, this whole second part with all these lines and these marks, this is really actually what came from that morning. And you're going to see me at the end of this stencil on 9/29, which was the actual time they figured out that George Floyd's neck was held down, that he couldn't breathe. It was 9 minutes and 29 seconds. So this page ended up being a tribute to him, and kind of artist therapy to me. And it really, really helped me to get my thoughts and feelings down on paper. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you see that any piece can be saved. And if you have any questions, please comment below. I would love, love, love to answer them.